it's really, like I said before, it's really easy to just go online and find all kinds of stuff that will prove your point, whether it's true or not. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Cattablah, the show.
Welcome back to our talking plays that are like a podcast but better because we talk about serious and funny topics while we play retro video games. So if you're new to this,
I guess.
welcome.
I mean, yeah, sometimes we do that.
You're so enthusiastic.
Ben Stein, you can win Ben Stein's money.
So I guess I might as well get right into the topic of today, which is confirmation bias. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. And have you ever noticed that it really tends to be very prevalent around the conspiracy theorists?
Well, that's because a lot of times they use like a lot of the things that you hear about with confirmation bias, they tend to be the more controversial things.
Yeah.
And so when you start talking about controversial things, that's when a lot of the conspiracy theory people come out to play, really.
It's such a huge problem. We were talking about it, and you know what? If you want to talk and have your own opinions on things and be one of these conspiracy theorists that think that 9/11 was an inside job, for example, I mean, I don't think that does any harm, but it's when you get a scenario like anti-vaxxers that are putting their children's lives in danger, and if you are an anti-vaxxer, I hate you. And you know, there's been cases recently where the child died, and then the parents were charged, and the parents were like, "What?
Yeah, what?
How can you charge us? Our child died from a virus."
If only we had something to stop it.
I love the argument. I don't love it. I hate it. But I find it so hilarious that their argument is, well, so much for vaccines, like polio hasn't been seen in 70 years.
You don't say. There's a reason.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Idiots.
We talk about anti-vaxxers a lot. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's not the main topic of this, but man.
They
fit into a lot of categories we talk about.
Yeah, they do.
Oh no.
But it goes everywhere. We were talking about confirmation bias behind climate change and you know, all of that jazz. And I'm somebody that works kind of in that field, and so it's something that really bothers me when it comes to like clean energy and you know, people saying that climate change is a hoax, when a lot of what my career and what my business and my peers do as a whole is to try and protect people from this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it can be really aggravating. It's, you know, to hear that you know, people are believing a meme that the oil industry puts out. Like, it just I don't know. It really chaps my butt.
Yeah, but the funny thing is oh great, is that most of the time, I mean not most of the time, but it's very prevalent on social media.
Yeah.
Because that's where everybody seems to think that they're a scientist or some kind of doctor with a PhD, because they read one article that they did no background research into, and now they're like, well, there it is, I told you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, I don't want to say it's funny. I can never do that right. I don't want to say it's funny, but at the same time, it's so ridiculous that it's not the majority. It is a sizable minority that just believe everything that they're told, without prejudice. Like,
well, that's kind of the problem, though, about having the internet, having so much information at your fingertips, is that it's also really easy to find false articles And if you're not, not really computer savvy, internet savvy, you don't really know what the internet like, and that there's obviously, a bunch of garbage on the internet that's just not true, then it's really easy for these people to just say, oh, I read this one article on there, and there it is, it's true, I found it my source.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, though, is that, for every true article out there, there's like 300 not true ones.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about it before, how people in politics or that have a vested interest in a company and the well-being of how something does, so that they'll take statistics that are technically true, but they'll tell like a half-truth to get you to believe that what they're saying is the truth. And what we've talked about before is the wage gap, and that.
Oh no.
What? Oh, you almost.
No, yeah, not the way to go ahead with that.
The statistic is true that men on average do make more than women, but they're not taking it as a job basis and a career basis. It's a population as a whole. So on average, and you guys can look this up, women typically find themselves in lower paying careers like nursing, administrative assistants, teachers, and that kind of thing, whereas men find themselves more in the sciences, the engineering, and high paying trades. So that's where the wage gap actually comes from. The statistic may be true, but the information is you come by it in a very kind of slimy way, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it's really, like I said before, it's really easy to just go online and find all kinds of stuff that will prove your point, whether it's true or not. And if you don't do your research, then you fall into the same trap as everybody else who's making the same mistake and just taking it all for as truth.
Yeah.
Okay, really? Yeah, okay. And then, but then you're spreading the misinformation. So you're becoming part of the problem because you're posting your article, and for, every 10 people who are like, oh, are you stupid? This article is totally baloney. Like, this is not true at all. But then you have that one other person that's like, oh yeah, good point. Look at this article here. This is the truth. Like,
I don't know how to get down there.
You gotta be fat. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a problem. And then, if you ever read something online, like even when you're listening to us, never take what we say as word of law. Never take what one article says as the God-spoken truth, because you need to research multiple things.
Yeah.
To get your to form your own opinion. You should be looking at it from all different sides. So climate change, for example, don't just take one person's word for it. They might have part of the facts. Maybe what they're saying is totally true, but maybe there's also an outlying factor that they didn't know about that could actually change the mind of somebody. So what you need to do is you need to look at one source and then check 3 or 4 more other ones, and reputable sources. Not Facebook, not any social media. I'm talking university studies. I'm talking some stuff that's released by many different governments, not just one. Don't just look at your own. Government scientists of multiple different companies, and then form your own opinion, because otherwise you are part of the problem, like Josh said.
Well, it's just funny. Like, I mentioned the social media thing because, like, I have people all over my Facebook that do the exact same thing, and it's just like all you can do is give your head a shake, because they're like these, since Anonymous came out, there are some huge, they're working for the people, they're working behind the scenes doing stuff for the people, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, these guys are totally all about us, and but they don't actually know. Okay, they don't actually know what Anonymous is about, and now they're saying, oh yeah, I found this on an anonymous website. It's like, you think that Anonymous just has some website that everybody
yeah,
like, come on, that's not what Anonymous is about. So now that's Like, that's the kind of questions you have to ask yourself. Like, okay, yeah, I found this one article that says everything that I've said for years, so now it's true. Well, you're also citing an article that's complete baloney under the guise of this, this hidden organization that's working for the people to expose the government and their secrets and stuff. But at the same time, what you're looking at goes totally against what Anonymous does.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. You gotta check your facts. You gotta check your facts. And don't be one of those people that just takes everything you see as truth right off the bat. Like, I mean, yeah, it's easy enough, you go on Facebook or whatever, you see some article and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting, I can't believe that. And then, if you hear about it in a bunch of other places, well, there's probably a good chance that it is true. But there's also times where, okay, yeah, this article may not be the truth. It may even be promoted by Facebook or something. And now you have to ask the question. It's like, Facebook probably has their own agendas, and they'll side with whoever wants to give them money, or whatever, is good for their own values. So you kind of have to ask the question, well, this article kind of has maybe some ulterior motives.
And that's something that's interesting. That's something that you really have to think about is whenever somebody puts out an article, what are they hoping to gain from this? Like, whenever we say something, behind the scenes, we're hoping that this discussion leads to some viewer time as well as getting some attention. So what are other people's kind of motivations behind talking about this? Is it political gains? Is it money? And that's something you really have to think about, is what do people stand to gain from this kind of talk? Hatred, I find, is one of the biggest ways to manipulate somebody as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's what, I don't know, we try not to get too political, but that's what happens in politics a lot. Especially like when you're looking at, people running for, in our case, well, like president in the United States. It's basic, I mean, this last one, it wasn't even we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. It was more like a smear campaign on both sides. They're just trying to get you to hate the other person more, rather than be the one you like. So it's like, oh yeah, just vote for me. I'm like the lesser of two evils. It's like, how is that a?
Yeah. Well, and I seen something the other day that actually rustled my jimmies quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So we're from Canada, and we have the greatest looking prime minister.
Yeah.
So somebody posted a picture of him in a dress, and then put, "This is the guy that created the carbon tax. Do you feel safe now?" And I'm just like,
yeah, what does that have to do with?
Yeah, right. They're like, oh yeah, I hate this idiot. Yeah, the carbon tax must be complete crap if this guy came up with it. So that's what I was saying. Like, hatred is a very, very good motivator politically.
Well, it's like a red herring, though. It's like, here's the issue, but I want you to look this way so that you hate the same thing as me, but I'm not actually giving you any actual information or any value to what I'm saying. It's
from the inside looking out, and this is one of the only situations where I actually get to do that with the whole clean energy and whatnot, is that, and I find myself thinking, if you don't actually work in this, how do you know which side is telling the truth? That's one of the hardest things. Like, I'm able to see the effects of it and like read the reports on the inside, but for me to tell people, hey, this is what's going on, don't believe this, like, why would they believe me? Then that's where like looking into multiple sources comes into effect. But it's a very hard thing to do, to kind of discern between what's a lie and what's not, because of what politicians or whoever has something to gain is gonna prey on the innocent and the ignorant. And not ignorant as in stubborn or any of that. I'm ignorant of the subject and doesn't know anything about it. So if you sound smart enough and confident enough, chances are they'll believe you.
Yeah, people just take it as the truth, right?
Yeah. And I'm a very confident person, and when I talk, I can be persuasive. So I see how even myself, I can be a problem. I don't know. It's I find it very interesting, but at the same time, it's very problematic.
Well,
How the hell have you even
there's
reached that?
probably with 2 people, because then you could jump up there and then throw the other one up.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
guessing. But yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it's this whole internet age starts becoming a problem because now there's too much information available, and you can find anything that will back up whatever crazy ideas you might have.
Yeah.
On the internet, you could you could find you could find one article that will say anything you want, and you post that now. Like, I was right all along. I told you guys. It's like, okay, you found one random website that some dude made in his basement and he's hosting himself, and it's
Exactly.
you know, if you're not gonna do your research, I mean, well, you're not really.
I'm sure there's an article out there that says Cattablah is the best channel in the world.
Yeah, I just wrote it.
And
Like, before you were here.
obviously it's true.
Yeah.
So you should like, comment, and subscribe
Obviously,
to show us that you enjoyed this episode.
But yeah, I could go out and write my own article and be like, oh, Dustin murdered a guy. And then I can post it on Facebook and just say, I was right all along! I told you!
How did you know
Yeah, exactly.
that? I didn't know that. Did I do that?
Yeah, you murdered a guy, Dustin.
Shit.
Yeah.
Alright, take me away.
Yep, well, there it is.
Well, damn it.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Always question everything you read, except things that you read from us.
And
or
that's
hear
where it
from
really
us.
starts. You need to read. I know it's a scary thing to read, but you gotta
It's
do
a
it.
lot of words.
What a...
Who has
you know,
time
if
for that?
you're in Canada, smoke a quick blunt. And
Or like Colorado or
yeah, wherever it's
California
legal,
also, yeah.
get some sativa in there, maybe a dash of indica, and just relax and focus.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well, we'll see you guys next time.
adios.
Goodbye.